Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Four, three.
Hello race fans and welcome to the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Championship live from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Ontario, Canada. My name is Peter Mackay and joining me in the commentary box this evening is not Marco Barbonera for the change. It is in fact Dane Baird, but for fans of Mr. Barbonera we do have him in the production booth doing all of his wonderful work on the buttons and the switches. Dane, it's a pleasure to have you here in the commentary box, and I'm glad we've got one ex-driver in the commentary box and one sort of idiot with a microphone, which is me, but I'm glad you know what you're talking about because you're pretty handy in one of these cars, I seem to remember.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. We obviously were rivals in the second season of this championship. It was a lot of fun, I must say. But yeah, it's good to be back up in the booth. I've never driven this car at Mosport though, so this is a bit of uncharted territory for me. I've driven against them in a multi-class league. I was in a TCR, and that was terrifying. But yeah, I wouldn't want to drive these cars at this circuit because I struggled at this circuit enough as it is, and then put me in the Porsche Cup, and that makes things a whole lot more difficult.
It's a tricky car, and this is a big gut circuit. We'll get into talking about this wonderful venue in a moment, but looking at the championship points, all of a sudden Pascal Costa leads the championship by 30 points from Kamil Grabowski, who's led it for most of the way. But Costa has really had a good couple of meetings while his rivals have faltered. Interestingly, Josh Thompson's still within the kind of fight for the championship, even after starting in the season late. But of course, Kamil Grabowski, Dane, of course, our defending champion, and he'll not wanting to be You're not wanting to be given away easily. Of course, it was Pascal Costa who finished last time out. And, of course, Dane, the AM guys, equally tight there.
Yeah, you and I raced against quite a few of them last season. Max Wolf leading that by, 24 points there. And yeah, it's not the biggest of margins, is it? Paul Angus, he's done a brilliant job. Kev Copeland in third, not too far behind either. Kevin Finn, I don't believe he's going to be able to do the rest of the season, so he's out of contention for the championship, but he was right up there within the first few rounds of the season. Qualifying is just started, actually, and we're seeing the first times being set. I think those are just out laps, though, that are being set by the drivers at the moment, so I think the times will be a bit quicker than that as we head further on into the session. I think the drivers are on their first flying laps at the moment, and a bit of drafting going on.
Yeah, the moment the drivers were looking at on screen on the long climb up from Moss Corner all the way up the hill, all the way up the Mario Andretti straightaway towards the S's at turn 8, 9, and then Whites at turn 10. So a difficult one to compromise on car setup, because there is a number of parts of the Mosport circuit, basically turn 1, 2, 3 and 4 are all high aerodynamic load corners. You really need as much aero grip as you can possibly get in those areas. However, of course, if you have a lot of wing on the car to try and give you that grip through the corners, of course that slows you down on the Mario Andretti straightaway. So Dane, it's going to be an interesting contrast. I think throughout the evening we might see some variety on how each driver's got their car set up for this challenge.
I wouldn't expect too much difference because, as we know, this Porsche Cup car isn't the most aerodynamically gifted car in the world. It doesn't have any winglets or wings on it other than the rear spoiler, which doesn't do too much, to be fair. The rear end is still pretty loose around quite a few of the corners you'll see into, especially into the later stages of each of the races. Drivers are going to be possibly opposite lock, steering the wrong direction more than they'll be steering the right direction into the corner. The tyres are probably going to start taking a bit of a bruising, especially with the first sector being lots of long corners. Tyres are not going to be like that. And I said that times might come down a little bit. I wasn't quite expecting 15 seconds shorter on the driver's first laps, and that's Costa up into provisional pole already.
Wow, a great time. Of course, Pascal Costa has really turned the heat up the last couple of events, and had a quiet start to the season, difficult, but it's really turned around since Laguna Seca, and through Laguna Seca, the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and of course last week an absolute cracker on the streets of Chicago has really hauled himself back up into contention and into the lead of the championship. Now, this opening section of the circuit is just breathtaking. You're really hanging on for dear life in that very fast turn 1, and then turn 2 and 3 you go over a blind crest and you really are hanging on. And as you mentioned, Dane, yes, you can adjust the wing angle, but you're right, the car is not, it's definitely not a GT3 car in terms of aero or even a GTE machine, but the one car which did have incredible aerodynamic grip was the Porsche. They've got a gap at the a blockage at the end of pit lane there, strange, but a car that did have a lot of aero grip was the Porsche RS Spider, which actually beat it was an LMP2 car that often beat the LMP1 cars because it had such good aero grip. And Romain Dumas in testing, now just imagine this for a second, he was absolutely flat out in turn 1, flat out in turn 2, flat out turn 3, flat out turn 4, turn 5 is second gear, so he did have to brake for that, and he was even flat out in turn 8, would you believe? So almost the entire circuit absolutely flat. That's how good the aero was on that car.
Sounds like my head might just fall right off my shoulders if I tried to do that.
Yeah, so it's a broken neck. That's what that sounds like.
Yeah,
but you also need a special type of nutcase to ask the car to do that as well.
Oh yeah.
It'll do it, but you've got to be a bit deranged. I was speaking to Timo Bernhard, who told me this story, who was Roman's teammate, and I was like, oh my god, he's crazy. And Timo goes, yeah, Roman is crazy. He's crazy. I couldn't do that. 5-time Nürburgring 24-hour winner Timo Bernhard said, oh, no, he's crazy.
Yeah. It's funny what racing drivers, when they call other racing drivers crazy. You know that the other one must be doing some impressive stuff at that point. A couple of drivers finding the walls, which is not surprising because if you put a foot wrong here, put a wheel off the circuit, just one will do it. There's no tarmac runoff anywhere except I think like half a meter's worth on the outside of the final corner maybe. But other than that, absolutely nothing. And it's all grass. And if anyone has ever driven a car on iRacing on grass, you'll know that it's not the grippiest surface in the world. And yeah, oftentimes when you get on the grass, it's a one-way ticket to whatever's on the other side of that grass. And here at Mosport, walls, pretty close walls, lots of different types of walls. You've got tyre barriers, just bare concrete walls in places, a bit of Armco as well. But invariably, if you go off the circuit, you're probably going to find yourself inside one of those types of barriers, which in qualifying is fine. You can just reset, go and do another lap. But in the race, it's a different story.
Yeah, that is true. Here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, to give it its modern name, but of course everybody really knows it as Mosport, which was its original name. Interesting, the track temperature up at 46 degrees Celsius. That is very, very high indeed. And what that will mean, viewers, is that these Michelin tyres, well, basically the Michelin man will not have a smile on his face for a change. You very rarely see the Michelin man unhappy, but he will today because this is, especially with so much high cornering load and a high track temperature, this is going to be really slippy and slidey. These high temperatures really make the car behave quite nervously and reduce the grip level, believe it or not. So, oh my goodness, this is going to be a tough one for our drivers. But a circuit which has a lot of British connections. It was actually founded by the British Empire Motor Club here in Ontario, designed by a man called Alan Bunting. So maybe I wonder if that's what they named Bunting after. I wonder. That would be an amazing link, wouldn't it? Bunting, the man that invented bunting, also invented Mosport.
I think I'm a bit confused about this. I know that the scan of Mosport and iRacing is not the newest scan on the sim. Is there now tarmac runoff, or is it still all grass like it is now? No,
it's still very old school. But it's in fact the IndyCar can't come here. It's just too quick because. So the aero of an IndyCar is pretty impressive. The speeds are amazing, and I remember when, of course, we had Rob Howden commentating with us here on Apex Racing last year, and actually this year too for the Road to Indy E-Series. And I asked him about Mosport because, of course, he's Canadian, and we were talking about the Toronto street race, and I said, "Could you go to Mosport?" He says, "No chances. If you come through there, turn 4." In an IndyCar, it's just the main problem is at Moss Corner, turn 5. And turn 6, if you lose it there, the wall is pretty close behind. So for IndyCars, it's a no-go, unfortunately. The NASCAR trucks do race here, though, which is really a treat if you've ever seen that on YouTube. Well, qualifying is ticked over, so we're ready to go. Pascal Costa and Mateusz Nogage will start on the front row of the grid, with Roger Christensen and Simone Passoni on row 2. Tor Bervin and Max Kessler start on row 3, with Niels Erik Isaacson and Joe Vigard Godderstad on row 4. Mark Hutchison and Lewis Ward round out the top 10. Mark Silcock will be pole position of the AM-class runner and 11th overall, alongside Apex Racing's very own Sam Fitzpatrick. James Parker and Matt Chambers start on row 7, followed by Max Wolf, Thomas Wiwire, Kevin Stringer, Joseph Saul, Kev Copeland, and Josh Thompson rounds out the top 20, serving a qualifying ban. Watch for that number 151 car coming through the pack. Paul Langett will start 21st alongside Thomas Torp, and Joe McCauley makes up our 23 car grid. And 21 the reverse grid number. So for our feature race, we will have whoever finished 21st in this race will start on pole position for the feature race.
Marco Barbanero just telling us in the background that he prefers the grass in iRacing because it punishes the drivers going off the circuit, which is true. When they have tarmac runoff, it sort of it allows the drivers to take liberty. As at the final couple of corners at Red Bull Ring, I'm not sure if you've driven a Red Bull Ring yet, Peter, but the track limits there are not the strictest in the world.
No, I'm not a fan of these. And sausage curbs, well, they can just go in a bin somewhere. Put sausage curbs, football, and SUVs can all go in one big bin somewhere. Anyway, the revs rise on some Porsches in beautiful Ontario. That makes me smile. Let's go racing here in Canada. And Pascal Costa leads us away down towards turn 1 and does so convincingly as well. So Nogaj tucks in behind in second position. Christensen up to third.
Oh, no.
We got a spinner early on, and oh goodness me. Some of the cars get through safe, but oh right, let's try and Sam Fitzpatrick involved as well, and that car is mangled.
Oh yeah, I think he might have to come down to the pit lane and get a fast repair. Interestingly, Thompson and Macaulay both out of the race apparently. They've towed back to the pits, and looks like those two are going to be the drivers that don't get reversed. So everybody else is basically inside of that top 21. Oh, I think we've had something else happen on turn 4. That's another mangled looking Porsche. Oh, we can't even get it going.
Oh, now Paul Langer, of course, in a fight for the AM-Class Championship, so disastrous for him. So, yeah, there's going to be quite a tussle, I think, over who gets those grid spots and in the latter part of the field. So, anyway, back to the front, and it's a little bit more calm for Pascal Costa. Of course, no sign of Kamil Grabowski tonight, so this is game on for Pascal Costa. This can put him into a convincing position in the championship chase. But he does have his teammate there, Mateusz Nogaj, to maybe to fight his battles for him, possibly.
Yeah, possibly. We've seen him being involved in some of the fights up at the front many times this season, and he might just do his teammate a favour by taking a couple of points off of Costa. It's going to be difficult though. It's not the easiest place to overtake at once you get out of the first couple of laps and everyone sort of goes into single file. Oh dear, I think we've just cursed him, haven't we?
That will make it a lot more difficult. That is the most difficult corner on the circuit. Moss Corner was originally designed as a hairpin, but Sir Stirling Moss, who was involved in the design of the circuit, said it would be much better to make it a kind of double apex right-hander, and that's normally where you see the majority of the spins and incidents, I suppose, Dane.
So it's his fault I could never race at this circuit with a single screen, because I just could not find that second apex, ever, no matter how hard I tried. It's probably one of the reasons I don't particularly enjoy driving at the circuit. But it is an extremely challenging corner. It is a really challenging corner to get right, and because it's at the top of the hill and the crest over the top as well, it does allow you to spin pretty easily, especially in these cars where the rear loves to snap around at a moment's notice.
Whoa! That's a huge moment for Matty Chambers. Now, speaking of the perception and peripheral vision, that's the word I'm looking for. Matty Chambers races with a VR headset, so goodness me, that would have been full opposite lock looking out the window of his sim room. My goodness me. But kept it out the wall. That's very impressive because that's fast through there. So good job, Matty Chambers, keeping that one out of the very uncompromising wall. And his teammate Kev Copeland in the wall. Dear me. Moss. That's Moss Corner again, yes. Now the thing is, Dane, of course, the big factor is these cars do not have anti-lock braking system like a GT3 car would. And that way, like you mentioned, that crest up the hill, that makes, and you got to turn and slow it down and go up a hill. You're asking the car to do so many things at once, and that's what makes it so tough.
Yeah, Sam Fitzpatrick, we're riding on board with him for a moment. Kev Copeland, who we've just seen in the wall, going on the inside. Sam's holding it all the way around the outside. Actually, that might even make contact.
Oh dear, multi-21.
And Sam's back across the circuit and into the wall hard. Oh, that's his race finished. Oh, and his drive is all gone. He's going to have to take a tow. Luckily for him, it's going to be a fairly short tow because he's at the pit entry. But yeah, the two of them not leaving each other much room. Bang! And he could not stop it. He's off the power, on the brakes, and that grass has no grip. You can see the rear of the car. Absolutely gone.
Yeah. Not something you see very often, actually. As much as we'd like to jest with Sam, he's a very, very consistent driver and doesn't get into argy-bargy very often at all. Actually, very good at avoiding it. In fact, spin for Mark Silcock, and guess where? Moss Corner. It's not unusual to see someone get stuck behind the wall on the inside of Moss. I've seen that happen a couple of times.
The inside of Moss is a very scary place because
yes,
the Moss it's a nice hill up towards the apex, but it's not a nice hill on the inside of the circuit. If you go onto the inside and like mess up turn 4 and run wide there, it's basically just a launch pad, and your car becomes a space shuttle, and off it goes. Of course it's grass, because it's grass everywhere, so you can't slow down, you can't steer, you can't speed up either, and you just slide up the hill and pray there's no one going around the circuit at the same time, because they're in danger. I've seen it happen right in front of me once, going around that corner, just having a car fly in front of you. It's very tricky indeed.
That it is, yes. It must be a spectacular place to watch. Obviously there's a lot of spectator banking around there, and yeah, it must be really, when of course the IMSA Championship in normal times, they haven't been for a couple of years only due to COVID, not certainly through lack of interest. Hopefully they'll be able to get back next year with a bit of luck. Thomas Warrior, a little bit of an issue here. It's very much this is actually at a higher rate of attrition than I thought.
It was back at Moss Corner again.
Yes. So at least it's made it sound like we know what we're talking about, Dane, because we did mention Moss Corner.
Yeah, it's a tricky corner, and this is proof. Yeah, I think he managed to keep it out of the wall, luckily for him. Looking back at Silcock, who didn't manage to keep it out of the wall, he's got a bit of damage to the front left of his car, but that's not stopping him gaining at a rate of knots on Thomas. He's really gained through the S's, right on the back of the German, through turn 1, but he's also got to watch out behind for the pro driver of Godestad for Fox Gaming, because he's also not one to mess around with. He's got a bit of damage to the front right of his car, but a very quick driver.
Yeah, very, very quick indeed. This is a circuit where Porsche really have an amazing heritage. This was actually the circuit that the Porsche 917 Can-Am car, the 917-10, actually debuted in competition, and it really did take the world by storm at that point. It was running it actually got clogged. One of the valves got clogged with dirt, and they had to go in and change it, and that meant they didn't actually win that opening race. But they were something ridiculous, like 3 or 4 seconds faster than anyone in Can-Am, which was a really, really quick series. So it's it's got some heritage to this place, especially with Porsche.
Oh, riding on board with Silcock, being missed. Godestad all the way around the outside. That's an awesome move there from the Norwegian. He's now got Thomas Wilborn just in his sights. He was watching that behind thinking, please crash and give me some breathing room, but no. They kept it clean behind, and now he's under a bit of pressure. I think I figured out why Moss Corner is proving so difficult, as there's a spin in the background. I think it's Chambers. He's facing the wrong way. Luckily, there's no one except his teammate Copeland coming around the first corner, so he could give him a shout, I would imagine. But through all of the first sector, the tyres are going to be so overheated, and then onto the heavy braking zone, they're not going to do much for you, really. Up the hill there, it's a good thing there is a hill here, because otherwise I don't think they'd have any stopping power. Oh, and that's
there we go.
Jason Point.
Oh dear, someone follows him in. God, it's like there's oil on the road. There isn't, of course, but oh, poor Paul Lange just goes in sympathy. Let's get a look at it then. Let's hear where he brakes.
He just didn't turn.
yeah, just maybe a little bit late on the brakes. It shows you actually how early you have to get on the brakes and really let the car settle and not overdrive it. But goodness me, that's very easy to say, very difficult to do. Wow, what a tough challenge this is for our drivers tonight. Goodness me, they're probably saying, oh, can we go back to the streets of Chicago, please? That was a double compared to this. Wow. It's funny, isn't it, Dane, how sometimes a circuit can... Matt Chambers off again. A circuit can just sort of creep up on you. It's not a circuit that's maybe used very often here on the iRacing platform, and you think, oh, well, how hard can it be? And then you get out there going, goodness me, it's like driving on ice.
Yeah, it is. It's a very tricky circuit. Then, of course, with the added heat, yeah, that just makes it even worse. You can see everybody braking pretty early here. It looks like they're not going to have too many problems on corner entry, at least. But it's a really weird line you've got to take through there, because it's just such an oddly shaped corner. I don't think there's any corner much like it, really. It's a really weirdly shaped corner, and because of the hill and the crest, it just makes it a very odd line that you've got to take through there. Now looking at the leaders, Pascal Costa, he's got Christensen 0.8 or 0.9 of a second behind, so he's not pulling away particularly quickly. He's slightly extending the gap, but yeah, Christensen's not going away, and we're only just gone halfway through the race, so plenty of chances for Christensen to take a race win, especially at this circuit, because it's more likely than not that Costa's going to make some kind of mistake. I think everybody on the circuit's probably going to make at least one hefty mistake throughout just two races. I think most of the drivers already have at this point.
Yeah, a lot of the drivers have taken a toll, and you know, a lot of incurred damage as well, and are still actually in reasonable position. It's just been the most bizarre encounter, and this, of course, is the shorter race, 20 minutes, and then we have a 30-minute feature after this with a reverse grid. Goodness me, that's going to throw another spanner in the works. But at the top, Pascal Costa, and I think, Dane, I think he's just driving well within himself at the moment. He's taken a look. I think he's played this one really smart. He's seen a lot of drivers crash. He's seen that the track temperature is excessively high, which is making it so greasy, and I think he's thinking, I'll run to a pace where I know I'm well within a margin, and if Christensen goes by, fine, he's not a threat for the championship anyway. But of course, in doing so, he's managing a really nice 1 second buffer, and yeah, this is the sort of drive that really sort of establishes a championship, I think.
Yeah, definitely playing it safe for sure. Not going to be going out. There's no need to, especially when you've got 5.5 seconds behind as well to the driver in third of Kess. So there's really no need to push, especially at a circuit in conditions like these. Parker lifting off all the way through turn 4. So he was on the brake 6. He was starting to slow down extremely early. And looking at Kester, he's only going to lose time because Ward trying to go around the outside as they make their way into the S's at the end of the Mario Andretti straightaway. I wonder if he's going to be able to make it work. He's not ahead yet. He's just poked ahead, but I think, they're still side by side actually. This could end in disaster, or it could end very nicely for one of them. I think they just about sort themselves out before they make their way onto the pit straight. Ooh! And that solved the problem for Max Kester, because Ford's just got all sorts of sideways out the final corner.
Yeah, just asking for the power, and it's there's just no grip there. It's really amazing how the wheels spin, even for something. Now, if there's any car that you should be able to get some traction out of a corner, it's a Porsche 911, because it's got a heavy 4-litre flat 6 engine right over the driven wheels, which just shows you that maybe perhaps Ward just got a wheel up on the curb there, which made it even slippier. But interesting stuff. But Pascal Costa managing it nicely. Also Max Wolf, who really has been, he's been so consistent and leading the AMS at the moment. Now, who was that? Oh, is it where? And that's a horrible place in the world to say. Oh my goodness. Oh, that must have been terrifying, watching all the cars. Of course, it's a blind crest, and you're thinking, oh, who's going to come up with the crest?
Yeah, not a fun place to spin. You save yourself from the wall, and then you've got a wall of cars coming at you, and that's absolutely nothing you can do about it. He's touched the grass on the entry, that's what he's done, and lost it, caught it again, but then what happens is he's offline and just goes straight on back into the grass, and that's what ends up spinning him around. He's heading back across. That was so close between himself and one of the Evo SR cars. That was too close. I think he's found himself
like a skateboard ramp
again, actually.
Oof, that
At Moss.
Yeah, that would have been a horrible accident. But thankfully, all disaster averted. Of course, look, Max Kessler, our winner in a brilliant win in the feature race at the Nürburgring Nordschleife a couple of weeks ago, and of course Lewis Ward really on a good run of form at the moment as well, and had a good charge towards the end of the championship. A good little dice going on here. Of course, Ward pulling quite significant chunks of time out of Kessler, and that obviously that lap 10.6 of a second, that was with the slight slip and slide on the power, but it looks like Lewis Ward's got the pace on Kessler here quite clearly, but like you mentioned earlier, Dane, getting the move done and getting past Kessler is going to be another matter entirely.
Yeah, it's very difficult to overtake, especially in these conditions. There's just not enough grip to run side by side with someone unless you have a significant pace advantage, which Ward doesn't have. He's quicker, yeah, I think. He's gaining, but not enough, and it's very frustrating being in a situation like this. It's similar to MX-5s at Lime Park, I found. If you're quicker than the driver ahead, you can catch up to them, and then all of a sudden, well, you can't really get past them. There's not really any room to. Here there's room to, but the track's so hot that you can't really get close enough, and that's extremely close between Wolf and Nogaj. Of course, Nogaj had that incident up here at Moss Corner, and he's really close to Wolf in front. Is he going to be able to use the draft down this straightaway and try and do something into the S's? The problem is holding it around the outside at the S's is not easy, and I think that's what we're going to see Ward try to do once again, and we'll see if he's successful. This time he's not even alongside.
Yeah, just got to. It's almost like a hot day at Sonoma when you know that you can have a driver who's 3 seconds off the pace, but can just place it in the right in the right areas so the person behind can't get by. Then.
Yeah, it's very easy to defend. It is. It is
yes,
really easy.
Remarkably easy to defend. Oh dear me!
The car right in the middle, and
just park it. Just park it in the apex, and there's nowhere to go. Oh dear! That was my one day in the sun, quite literally. So at the moment, Paul Langa, he may be 4 laps down. He has but 2 good things. He's just set his personal best lap of the race. He's also on reverse grid pole. How can you be 4 laps down and be on reverse grid
he
pole?
won't be for long.
Well,
String is in the pits.
Oh, Stringer thought, oh, pit. He's got his keep going, pit. We need you on reverse grid pole. Put some new tyres on.
Neither of them are scoring points for this race as it is, so
yep.
There's not really much advantage. If I'm lying at the moment, I'm retiring. There's no need
put it
to
in
go,
the wall.
Yeah, just start on pole position. We've seen how difficult it is, and Lang is actually off the circuit now. Which
he's parked it.
No, he hasn't. He's gone off at Moss.
No, it crashed. Oh dear.
He's gone off at Moss. He just has to park it now, wait for the leaders to come back around, finish the race in 21st. Brilliant. He's not scoring points anyway. That's honestly what I would do.
I mean, to be fair, if not, you'll start in the front row, which is close enough. So, but anyway, back to an actual battle here. That's funny. The brilliant battle here between Kessler and Ward for the last spot on the podium, and we'll be close to see where the white flag comes. I think we're on the penultimate lap. I think I'm going to say yes. At the penultimate lap right now. Has cost us a wee bit further up the road. So managing it really well. And look at that there, Max Kessler just taking his time around the corner, placing the car in exactly the right spot, knowing that Ward is maybe that little bit quicker, but so almost balking him slightly. He's allowed to do that, of course. But anyway, side by side, they go up towards the S's. This is super quick through here as well. They're taking very different lines, but they will converge to the same tip of the tarmac eventually. But the brilliant respect from both drivers so far. Kessler gives plenty room to Ward, that's really fair, but hangs on to the position for now and then says, okay, door's been open long enough, I'm going to close it. Okay, white flag here at Mosport, and I don't know if I've seen a move done there before, but Ward had a think about it. You can maybe make a move here though, coming through turn 2 and 3.
I think Paul Langer's actually watching the stream, because he's just retired from the race. So it looks like reverse grid pole is secured for him, and Ward is trying desperately to get that final podium position. He did look into turn 1, he had a little bit of a look, and that gap was only 0.2 of a second. And you'd think, oh, it's easy to overtake with 0.2 of a second, but he's proving it to be extremely difficult. Kessler's defending extremely well, to be fair, holding it all the way around the outside of turn 9. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, Kessler's just positioning that Impulse Racing car in just the right spots as well. Pascal Costa will be coming over the line now. In fact, he is. He's coming up to the final corner of whites. Round he goes. Pascal Costa is a winner yet again here in the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup. But back to the battle for the podium, where his teammate is trying to hold off Lewis Ward, who's throwing everything at it. But here he goes. Has he got the cut back? Oh, nearly the switchback. You called it, Dave. Oh, just good race.
Oh dear. Oh no. Oh, he got a bit loose. Thomas got a bit loose there, just tapped.
Oh dear.
Snowcock in front, and oh dear, he's just ended up in the wall on the outside. He has not lost any positions because of that, luckily for him, because the next driver is Joseph Saul, who is only coming around the final corner now and across the line. It's not been a very good race for the Evo SR cars, has it? Saul
No.
in 12th, Chambers 13th, Cookman 14th, and then Fitzpatrick in 19th. I guess Wolf has gone up to 7th. He got AM-class win. So I forgot about Wolf.
They do have
great
strength
job.
in numbers. They do have strength in numbers, that is for sure, do the Evo SR guys.
What are we getting a replay of here? Second.
So, this is how they finished then for this crazy opening race here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Pascal Costa, your winner then by 2 seconds from Roger Christensen, with Max Kessler holding out for the last spot on the podium from Lewis Ward, who just threw everything he possibly could at going for that last spot on the podium. Mark Hutchison for Evo SR Blue finished in the top 5, with Mateusz Nogaj finishing in 6th. Max Wolf was your AM-class winner, followed by James Parker, Joe Vigard, Goderstad, and Mark Silcock rounding out the top 10. Thomas Torp finished in 11th, followed by Joseph Saul, Matt Chambers, Kev Copeland, Tor Bervin, Thomas Huoyer, Simone Passoni, and Niels Erik Isaacson rounding out the top 18. Sam Fitzpatrick was 19th, followed by Kevin Stringer, and Paul Langa does get the last spot on the reverse grid and therefore pole position for race 2. Joe McCauley and Josh Thompson finished on the last 2 spots. We're going to take a very short break here on Apex Racing TV, and we'll be right back for the feature race. Don't go anywhere.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke,
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong,
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
and many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.
Welcome back to Apex Racing TV, where we are preparing for the feature race here in the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup, live from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. My name is Peter Mackay, and joining me in the commentary box on this broadcast is Dane Baird with Marco Barbanera, bringing the graphics and images to your screens. Dane, it was certainly a high rate of attrition in race 1, and that was with a qualifying grid. This is with a reverse grid, and I shudder to think what this one could be like.
Interesting is probably the most accurate word, I think.
Diplomatic word, yeah.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, we're gonna have some of the more consistent guys basically starting dead last, because we've only got a 23 car field, so only 2 drivers are going to be starting from the back, where they finished in race 1, that is. So we've got all of the drivers basically reversed, and that's going to cause problems, I would imagine, on the first couple of laps. And then those drivers trying to overtake throughout the race, as we've seen, is very, very difficult. So that man right there is on reverse grid pole, could be looking at a win. Genuinely, survive the first couple of laps, don't find yourself locking up and going straight on at Moss like you have done 3 times in the first race, and it could be very difficult for someone to try and get past.
Well, we're about to find out to see what this is going to be like. Paul Langer and Kevin Stringer start on the front row, with Sam Fitzpatrick and Niels-Erik Isaacson on row 2. Simone Passoni, Thomas Warrior, Torb Ervin, Kev Copeland and Matt Chambers and Joseph Saul round out the top 10. Thomas Torp and Mark Silcock start on row 6, with the 13th place driver Joe Vegard Goderstad alongside James Parker on row 7. Max Wolf will start 15th up beside Matthias Nogage, followed by Mark Hutchison, Lewis Ward, Max Kessler, Roger Christensen, Pascal Costa, Joe McCauley and Josh Thompson starting at the back of the pack. So most of the drivers have taken their spots on the grid. Paul Langer will take us away from pole position. We'll set the revs manually, of course, and drop the clutch, and off he will go, unleashing 485 horsepower from these naturally aspirated 4-litre flat 6s. The lights come up. Out they go. Big wheel spin there for Langer, but gets a reasonable getaway and takes the lead. But look at Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick up to second position straight away from the second row, and already onto the back of Paul Langer. He's got the inside line. Langer swoops round though and says, no you don't. Of course, at this point, Dane, the tyres will be stone cold as well, so a real tiptoe exercise for the drivers.
Oh, comes off in the background. I think one driver collected him. It's Torp and Hutchinson. So for the Evo SR driver, it goes bad to worse, really. Ward and Christensen battling it out in 17th and 18th, but look at the lead that Langer's got already, over 0.6 of a second now, and he's run a bit deep into Moss. That's exactly what he needs to not do. But with this gap, he should find it fairly easy to defend. He just has to hold the inside line into the S's. He's doing a bit of weaving, which he doesn't need to do. See, Isaacson not playing the game. He's actually going to try to go around the outside of Fitzpatrick now, but he decides against it. These drivers are going to have to start getting a little bit more patient. They do have 28.5 minutes still to go in the race, so lots of attrition required here. And I think we've had a bit of a mess in the S's. Oh yes, we do.
Ford.
Oh dear.
Huge. Oh, is that Costa? No, it's Kessler, his teammate. Oh wow. So a lot of high-profile names out there. No, and Josh Thompson, seemingly a non-starter.
He didn't start either race, no. So yeah, that's
right.
Interesting for him.
That's a strange one. Okay, so that's Josh Thompson's championship aspirations completely over then. Yep. So it's really a fight then between Grabowski and Costa for the championship, and his teammate Max Kessler off again. So from hero to zero is so good in the in race one, and got a bit of a pile up at Moss Corner, and Thomas Maguire has got, like we said, nearly behind the wall there, and comes back on at the apex, never wise. Oh dear. Well, this is going to take a couple of laps to shake out, I think. Then
this is very terrifying to watch. 3 in a row, and you've got the one on the outside as well. Wolf leading this pack. It's Chambers that's trying to go around the outside. He's going to settle into that 3rd position in the train. Just pops in front of Silcock. But it's not the easiest place to try and go side by side. We've seen a couple of drivers make contact through there, so trying to watch 4 drivers very close proximity going through there was slightly terrifying. It looks like Chambers. No, Chambers.
And that's, I think he's maybe found the wall there because he took a toe straight away.
On the inside, is there contact? No. Oh dear. Touched the
ouch. And that is just such a small mistake. It's tiny. Put a tiny bit of the tyre onto the curb and it just spat him around. Now, this is interesting. Paul Lange is pulling away from Sam Fitzpatrick, and of course Lange in the AM category, Fitzpatrick in the Pro, and in fact Lange far ahead in the AM category from Max Wolf. Now, Max Wolf had a great finish in race 1, at the moment in a very good position, but Lange really needs this win to keep his AM championship charge on course. This is going to be a fascinating race to see how that one plays out as well. Costa's going to have to be very careful here as well, because he doesn't need a big score, but needs to just plot his way through very, very carefully. And I think he's kind of learned the hard way with that. And so far, Costa making good progress. Remember, he started in 21st spot, up to 11th in just 3 laps, sorry.
Someone briefly showing off circuit, Goddestad. He ran wide at turn 1, I think, but he managed to get wide enough that he didn't lose grip. It's just a weird physics thing, really. If you just dip the rear wheel, just one rear wheel into the grass, that's you around. But if you get both wheels off the circuit and with enough force, then you might be fine, and that's what happened with Goddestad, and unfortunately it didn't happen with Chambers, who's dropped down to 20th and is probably going to retire from the race, you would think, or he's going to finish quite a few laps down at least. And Lange, he's starting to lose that gap that he had built up to Fitzpatrick, although having said that, he's just gained a 10th back. He's doing well out there in front, finishing at the 4th lap of the race, only 5 minutes gone though, so he's still got to do that, what he's just done another 5 times. And that's a lot easier said than done, because as the race goes on, car gets lighter, which should make you a little bit quicker, but those tyres, they're not going to be happy.
No, that's going to be the management required here, and I wonder if maybe Paul Lange, we've got to really think ahead and making sure he's got a bit of tyre left for later on in the race. What might play in Lange's favour though is that Niels Erik Isaacson and Sam Fitzpatrick could well get into a little bit of a dice here, and that could obviously allow Lange a great opportunity to pull away. So let's see how this one plays out at the front of the field. Of course, Paul Lange races for the IBAC sim racing team, which is the same IBAC that make the very fancy springs for your car suspension. So we were joking last week on his post-race interview day in, of course, Chicago, an incredibly bumpy street circuit. I was asking if he'd got any tricks of the trade from his colleagues at IBAC, and he said in fact he actually had.
Oh,
well.
Oh, that was extremely close.
Well, that's a little bit. This is exactly what Paul Lange needs, though, and the gap now up to 1.8 seconds. If Isaacson and Fitzpatrick keep battling, and indeed Pisoni in there as well, Dane, this is exactly what Lange needs, and in fact, the more these guys fight, the less he has to push.
Guess who's just set the fastest lap of the race so far?
Costa.
Absolutely correct. He's on a bit of a charge.
Well,
up to 11th already. He's gained 10 places since the start of the race, you can see there. And he's probably going to get stuck behind Christensen. The two of them pretty evenly matched, I would say. And it's basically impossible to overtake, as we've seen. Even Isaacson got ahead of Fitzpatrick there and still couldn't make the move stick. Look at the gain, the extra speed he was carrying at the end of the straight. Nothing doing. And all the while, Lange's got a 2-second lead.
Yeah, Lange doing an incredible job at the front of the pack here. And starting to extend his advantage. 1:18.6 that time by, 1:18.9 for Fitzpatrick, 19.0 for Isaacson, 19.3 for Pisoni. And Paul Lange, he is pushing because he ducked a wheel on the grass there, and that's pretty much exactly what Chambers did. But Chambers was just, the luck's not been with him tonight, and let's have a look and just see how close Lange was here to...
Okay.
Oh my, that's more than a wheel on the grass. Oh my word.
He's lucky, he is. He's just used up his luck for the week. With that one right there. Oh dear.
I was nearly preparing the F key on my on my keyboard here.
I tell you what, he's got to be a bit shaken from that one.
He's got it. That's going to be a big exhalation of breath, and he'll be sweating. And of course, that's definitely going to kick his rhythm out a little bit. And indeed, Fitzpatrick's going to be quicker this lap, maybe to the tune of 2 or 3 tenths of a second. Let's see when they get over the line. But I think Fitzpatrick's attention has got to be being dominated by the pressure from Isaacson, and they've already had a little bit of contact so far. That'll be on the mind as Costa goes past on Copeland, and in fact only a tenth quicker for Fitzpatrick, so Lange recovered well there.
I think Fitzpatrick might be doing a bit of mirror driving.
Possibly.
He's got 2 tenths behind him. Well, he's got 4 tenths now, but he had 2 tenths to Isaacson. And it's very difficult not to look at the driver when they're 2 tenths of a second behind you, because that's not a lot of distance. So I think he might not be at his best because he's trying to worry about the driver behind him. Very easy to do, especially into some of the braking zones. You're like, please don't punt them. And you're always looking in the mirror to make sure that they aren't going to punt you, because if they are, you want to get out of the way. And I think that's what's happening there. He's just losing a little bit of time every lap. And Lange's enjoying that fact. These 4 drivers here in a bit of a train, battle for 13th. You've got Hutchinson, who's of course involved in that incident in the S's on lap 1. And now Isaacson might try it again around the outside, and it's just not working. Oh, that might work though. He's gained a lot of speed there. Sam Fitzpatrick went a little bit wide. Oh, is he going to send up the inside? No, he's not. That's perfect for Pisoni. Look at the extra speed he's got now. Oh, he's lost it all. I think he might have had to lift because he had gained so much speed on the apex.
And this is exactly what Langa needs. But even then, the gap's now back to 1.6 seconds. But Langa obviously notices in his mirror what's going on behind him. I'm thinking, okay, I can just back it off a little bit, just keep the tyre in good condition. As Thomas Reward has lost the front left wheel, looks that thankfully it's the front wheel rather than the rear wheel, which of course is the driven wheel, and he's been able to just about get it into pit lane. Yeah, good job. Let's have a look.
It's all on his own, so it must have just maybe touched the grass on entry or something. Maybe hit a curb a bit too hard. Nope, he's just run it way too deep and got on the grass on the outside. Oh, and there we go. Oh, off pops the wheel, and
yeah,
it's not a happy looking Porsche.
Oh, here we go.
Gonna have a bit of a fun time trying to replace that one. Fitzpatrick holding the inside line as you do in towards turn 8. Oh, I tell you what, it might be on here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he's got him. Yeah, he got the run on the straight. I bet Fitzpatrick's going to try and throw it up the inside here. Oh, it's so close. It's going to come down to where Isaacson gets the move done.
Oh, look at Pisoni.
Oh, well. Okay, now we're going to see the gap has rocketed up with that little exchange from 1.6 to 2.3 seconds all of a sudden. So now we're going to see Isaacson appears to have the pace here, Dane. I think Isaacson's the danger man now.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got 2.3 seconds. Isaacson's going to start closing down that gap, I would imagine. That he was clearly being held up by Fitzpatrick. And yeah, you can already see it's gained a 10th in the last couple of corners. I think Langa's in trouble right here. He's still on for a good result. I'm not too sure if he can hold on for the win. We'll have to wait and see, of course. We're not even halfway through the race at this point. And Cost and Christensen still very close together, trying to make their way through the pack. They've got Am race winner from race 1 of Wolf just in front. Is he going to let them by? I think he's moving to the side. He's not, maybe not defending as hard as he could be, although actually I think he is defending as hard as he could be. He's stuck on the inside there. He's holding it all the way through. No, he isn't. He's letting them both by.
Well, interesting. This is in the gap from Langa to Costa. I'm keeping an eye on, even though they're miles apart on track. It's actually not coming down that much. Maybe half a second to a second every sort of 4 or 5 laps. So Langa's pace at the front is really good. But let's see what Isaacson's got in the locker, and we'll see. Yeah, so it's coming down a bit, but not much.
Yeah, no, maybe a second in the last 5 laps. So. Yeah, 2/10 a lap. I think it's just because Costa's stuck in traffic. I don't think Langa's on the same pace as Costa would be out in open air, but he is stuck in traffic. Oh, and that's...
no! Oh, Isaacson's overdone it. Oh, dear. And he's got caught up with Bervin, who I think has got front left suspension damage, or at least bodywork damage around it. He might have to come in for the fast repair.
That's a lot of damage. And that's damage to Isaacson as well. And he's 9 seconds behind. There's Costa. He's going to gain a couple places from this, you'd imagine. He's trying to go around the outside of Bervin. He does need to be careful. And oh, that door was shut pretty hard. Right in his face there. Through turn 9.
That's good that Bervin's carried on, so he's not damaged. Whatever damage there is, it's not bad enough that he's felt he's had to come in for it. So
tell you what
happened to Isaacson though.
Sam Fitzpatrick and Pisoni have had to slam on the brakes to avoid whatever's happened here. I think he's just outbraked himself. He has got a bit loose, got on the curb, and look. Oh, they both just about avoid him. There, Bervin doesn't. But what that means is the gap between Fitzpatrick and Langa at the top is 4 seconds. That's brilliant for the German.
That's huge. And of course, the situation, like you rightly pointed out, in the situation that Costa being in the traffic, that's really curtailing his pace. So let's see what happens, because Bervin is a completely innocent No, we're back to live pictures. My apologies. Yeah, so now this means that sort of Costa actually, the gap has gone back to where it was, around 11 seconds. Pisoni's got past Fitzpatrick. Now that is interesting. So let's see if Pisoni can make a charge up to Langa, or will he stay locked in that battle with Fitzpatrick? This is, this is what I love about Porsche Cup racing here in the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup, because race 1 you would think would be less attritional than race 2. In fact, the opposite has been true. This has been a lot cleaner, well, it's we're seeing a really intriguing battle at the front here.
Yeah, this is Pisoni getting in front of Fitzpatrick here.
I think, here's a working theory for you, Dane. I think that Fitzpatrick might be running a little bit more wing. I think he's running a slightly draggier setup to have the grip in the corners, because he's been passed quite easily on the straight up the hill.
Or he just got a terrible exit out of Moss.
I wouldn't possibly say so. He'll watch this back. He'll have you for that, Dane.
You say that like I care.
You're hard.
Langa's lost a second and a half as we were talking, by the way.
Okay.
So not too sure what happened there, but considering where we are on the circuit, I would guess he's made a bit of an error into Moss corner. And well, yes, he has. He's done the exact same thing. Oh, he's lucky. Oh, he's so lucky. Oh, he's got away with one.
I call that luck. He hung on to that one quite well. Shouldn't have made the mistake in the first place.
With that one there. He's really using up all his luck in this race. He was all 4 wheels off the circuit at turn 1. Now he's gone almost 90 degrees sideways and held it. He's playing a risky game. And Pisoni's going to see that, and he's thinking, oh, if I can just hold on, then there might be more mistakes to come. We're only just past halfway, remember?
I think that's what Pisoni, if you think if he can put in some quick laps, then just to maintain that vice of pressure on Langa, who's got to think it's got pretty sweaty palms at the moment. So Bervin still keeping Costa at bay, and Bervin, of course, nursing a little bit of damage. We don't know how much, but that's been, of course, Costa, the gap staying pretty steady. So we could we see an overall AM winner in Paul Langa? Can he hang on for another 11.5 minutes? What do you think, Dane?
He's lost another half a second. I'm not sure. It will be close. I don't think he's gonna. If he does end up taking the win, I don't think it's going to be by a large margin. I think he's going to have to definitely work very, very hard for it. You can see he's lost another half a second on this lap, so something else has happened too. But we just cut to a shot of Vivio in 18th, and there's a bit of damage to the left front. They've only just changed it. They've just had to replace the whole interior workings of that area of the car, and he's damaged it again. The mechanics must be furious. How has he done that, I wonder?
He's going to have to buy them a virtual beer later on. Oh, difficult turn 2. Oh, God, that wall doesn't move. That wall does not move, and it's, the sound. Oh, we all know that sound. Oh, it's sending shivers up your spine. Costa just cannot get past Tor Bervin at all. Maybe he's just waiting for his opportunity, Dane, because Costa's in the driving seat right now for the championship.
For sure. And he's going to go for it, but he doesn't have to go particularly hard. He's got to watch out behind him as well, because Wolf was right on him. And you can't actually see him. That's how close he was for a second. He was being fully blocked by Costa's car on this onboard shot, but it is definitely, it's an odd situation for him to be in, because of course as a racing driver you want to go forwards. You don't want to sit behind the driver in front of you, especially not when you know that you probably have the pace to. But it's just, is it worth taking that risk? And you've got Silcock involved in the equation now as well.
He's got no championship threats at all. In fact, anywhere near him or ahead of him. So this is, and Pascal Costa narrowly missed out on the title last season to Kamil Grabowski, and Costa was just as quick, but made quite a few mistakes. So I think that's got to be playing in his mind then, surely.
I think last season Kamil was also much more decisive in traffic. In the reverse grids. He was very good at managing the reverse grid races. He would often finish right at the front, first, second, third, most races. And then the reverse grid would put him down, and he'd be able to get back up to the front very consistently, every time. And Costa not being able to do that here, it is interesting, but of course this is like probably the most difficult circuit to ever take on that we've visited all season, Chicago included. Oh, he looked for it into turn 2. Maybe just trying to put the driver in front off. That's probably his best bet. You know you're not going to be able to overtake him just a regular clean move, so try and force the driver in front into making a mistake and take a freebie, I think is what he's trying now.
Well, this is going to be an interesting finish because Paul Lange has really managed this very well. But he steadied the ship after that huge moment at Moss. Those last sort of three laps or so, he's only been about a tenth slower than Pisoni, which is exactly where he needs to be. So with 8 minutes to go, he's still got that 3-second advantage in hand, and Pisoni has still got he's still only 2/10 ahead of Fitzpatrick, so Pisoni's still got that threat to worry about as well. So the moment, everything looking good at the moment for Paul Lange.
Yep, and Fitzpatrick could do him a favour and try and battle with Pisoni. He's only 3/10 of a second behind at this point. That's literally no difference between the two of them. There's nothing between them at all. So Fitzpatrick must be getting a little bit frustrated. Oh, a little bit loose was Lange. That's really awful watching these drivers go around the circuit, because I know how difficult it is to drive these cars around corners like that. And there we go. Silcock's off the circuit. That's a freebie for Costa. But Costa's dropped back 7/10 of a second to Bervin. So he's got to gain that time back, which probably won't take him particularly long, but then he's got to try and get back past him again, which is going to be a bit more difficult. There you go, he's basically caught up already.
Oh, huge.
That's massive.
Huge. Oh, Ward and Copeland come together in a huge way.
That's
and I actually think Costa maybe lost it slightly on the exit of Moss as well, we'll see, but it might have been my imagination. Let's see what happened then. So Ward's got a good run round the outside, and do you know what happened there? Copeland just got into a big slide, and
yep.
that sort of then went into the path of Ward.
Oh, that was
a horror
a
show.
Massive hit.
That's why we don't have
Absolutely
IndyCars here.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we don't have IndyCars here. Look at the run he gets through here. The 111 car. And then he goes and he wants to hang around the outside. Copeland just gets the understeer of the century. And Ward just
takes a
nice hit into the barrier. I think Copeland's hit was possibly even bigger because, of course, he went over the front, across the front of Ward. And yeah, that was basically a 90-degree impact with the wall. So good thing that's in iRacing and not in the real world, because that would have hurt if it was in a real car.
That would have hurt the driver both physically and in the wallet as well. Goodness. Yeah, and do you know what? That is just a pure racing incident. Copeland was giving lots of room to Ward. Ward, went for the gap. The gap was there, and Copeland just had a huge moment, and that was that. No malice, no incompetency, nothing like that. Just one of these things that can happen when you're racing at the limit. And a perfect illustration, actually, of how tough the conditions have been for the drivers today. This is not an easy circuit at the best of times, but with a really baking hot circuit track temperature, it's really not nice at all. So yeah, still pretty high, not quite as high as the sprint race, but high enough, 40 degrees Celsius. Look at those times at the top. Lange, Pisoni, Fitzpatrick, and throw in Goderstad in there as well, all on pretty much the same lap time. So really steady lap time at the front. Just under 5 minutes to go now. Langa has actually extended his advantage slightly over the last couple of laps, and in fact, I tell a lie, he hasn't. In fact, I thought he had, but yeah, 3.5 seconds is his advantage, but so tight, and that's exactly what he needs to do, Dane. He can afford to give away a 10th here, a 10th there. It's all in control at the moment.
Yep, he's really got a nice gap there. That's a very comfortable gap. You can't really afford to make a massive mistake, but you can afford to not go 100%, which is really what you want here at Mosport with 4 minutes left in the race. And Costa's found himself on the inside, and that's brilliant because the inside is usually the better line through turn 8. There he is. He's up into 7th, and finally ahead of Bourbon. He can try and cast his eyes up front to Christiansen with a few minutes left in the race. Try and at least catch up, if not actually be able to make a move.
Well, we obviously know that Sam Fitzpatrick is the BSR Winter Series Radical Champion. I wonder how long we're going to hear about this podium for, Dane.
Oh dear. He was talking to me in the ARL admin meeting earlier, and he said he was going to win. So as long as he didn't win.
A lot.
Oh dear, what's happened to Langa? He's dropping back. There's only 1.5 seconds now. He's locked up into Moss once again, and goodbye 3.5 second lead. And hello. Oh, they're right behind me.
Oh, I can't imagine. I'm sure some of Paul's friends or family or teammates at IBAC are watching this and can't look. This is, oh, he's making it very nervy indeed. That's steadies the ship again in sector 2, but 1.8 seconds he went down the drain there. Now it will be 2 laps to go now here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Can Langa hang on? He's flashing the lights heavily. I think that's at now. There's a driver, I think there's 2 down. I think that's Macaulay.
Yeah.
He's flashing the lights at to make him well aware, saying, "Get out with this. Is the last thing that Langa needs is a lap car in the way." Hopefully that doesn't play a factor. That would be such a pity if a race came down to that. But he's getting closer and closer. He's given as much warning as he can.
I think Fitzpatrick is doing him a bit of a favour because look how close he is in the background of that shot. You'll see now he's basically pushing Pisoni around the circuit. Cheeky little lunge up the inside into Moss. Maybe could have been on for a second. Oh, that's... Oh, don't do that. Please. Very terrifying.
Macaulay doing his best to get out of the way.
He should have just taken this normal line. He slowed down off on the exit of the corner so much. Langa always ran straight into the back of him. The gap is only a second now, and they've only got 1 lap to go. Oh, it's very close.
Well, I think Paul Langa, his new best friend is Sam Fitzpatrick, because I think this is the difference in Simone Parsoni being able to take advantage of those mistakes. So white flag in the air here at Mosport. What an amazing North American swing this has been in this championship. Of course, we had a thriller in the feature race last week at Chicago in the street circuit, and here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Wow, it's been a real cracker as well. Paul Langa has driven very well, 1 or 2 mistakes, but he's recovered from them. That's the thing, he's not let them compound too much. And actually now building his gap back up again, Dane, and it's now back up to 1.4 seconds.
This is the defining moment. He gets on the brakes for Moss, and he slows the car down in time. He's lost 0.3 of a second in corner entry. He took that so easily. He really did not want to go off the circuit on the final lap of the race. And right now, he's looking very, very good indeed. Just 3 corners to go.
Yep, just got to hit his marks now. Does Paul Langa? He's got 1.3 seconds in hand. He can use them all. He can take it nice and steady through these last S's. There's Fitzpatrick. He can take it steady. He's going to go for that runners-up spot. Fitzpatrick, is he going to go for it? But Paul Langa has hung on. Paul Langa wins for Ibach here at Mosport. A brilliant drive. And, a crash at the end. Runs in the back of his teammate. That was Goderstad. Now, Goderstad and Christiansen come together. The Foxed Gaming, well, they've outfoxed one another as Roger Christiansen comes over the line in reverse. Brilliant. In reverse on the grass, that's quite hard to do. So, let's see what happened then. They're quite far apart at this point, Dane.
I'm really confused to what happens here. Let's have a look.
Oh, poor old Joe McCauley going, "Oh, leave me alone. I'm just trying to finish the race."
This is Christensen. It's the first of the two. Oh, look, he's just run into the back of it. Oh, and then Costa turns him. Costa turns them.
Now, what's interesting there, Dane, is that's the second week in a row that Costa's been involved in an almost identical incident where a car's checked up in front of him and tipped them around. Now, completely innocent, well, could be. You could interpret that in two ways. You could say, well, the car spun in front of him and he had nowhere to go. Or you could say that, maybe the car behind has the responsibility to miss whatever happens in front of them. Interesting to see how that's decided within the stewards. And little niggles like these can sometimes throw a spanner in the works of a championship charge, which otherwise is going very, very well for Pascal Costa. So, your winner then, Paul Langa, despite one or two scares, hangs on for the win. And an AM-class winner, don't forget. Overall, that's mighty, mighty impressive. Simone Passoni finished second, holding off Sam Fitzpatrick, who I'm sure will be delighted with a podium finish. Niels Erik Isaacson finished in fourth with Pascal Costa, rounding out the top five. Max Wolf finishing second in the AM class to solidify his charge for that title, and sixth overall. Jo Vegard Goderstad finished seventh, followed by Tor Bervin, Roger Christensen, and Mark Silcock rounding out the top 10. Mark Hutchison was 11th, followed by James Parker, Kevin Stringer, Joseph Saul, Matthias Nogage, Kev Copeland, Thomas Wawar, and Matt Chambers finished in 18th. And finally, the last few, Joe McCauley, Lewis Ward, Max Kessler, Thomas Torp, and Josh Thompson, a non-starter. Well, we maybe expected some drama at Mosport, Dane, but maybe not quite as much as that.
Yeah, no. Heading into the second race, I think I called it. Langa, if he made it through the first couple laps cleanly, he was on for the win. And that's exactly what it did. So I'm happy that I called that, because we've seen how difficult it was to overtake. But that wasn't the problem. He just checked out into the distance. Made a couple mistakes at Moss. But yeah, he still did a brilliant job and thoroughly deserved that win.
That he did, and he's come to join us in the interview waiting area. So, Dane, I will hand over our winner, who you predicted. You can tell him that. And let's hear what he has to say.
And he joins us now. Well, for the first time, overall race winner. Paul, you join us now. Thank you for joining us. Congrats. That was a fantastic showing from you. You must be pretty tired after that one. It looked like a stressful race.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, first of all. Yeah, it was quite tiring, and I'm also not that fit because I got my vaccine today, so I'm quite tired from that. But overall, it was a nice race. The second race, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so starting from the front, I actually first want to talk about race one, because obviously that didn't go your way. And
No,
then with a few laps to go, you're sitting in 21st, running around on your own 4 laps down. I said to Peter, if I was Paul, I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop racing, because you were about to overtake the person in front of you, and then you would have started second. And 4 laps down, you don't score points anyway. So I said you should just retire, and you did retire. But was that because of damage, or did you just think that yourself and just retire for the pole position?
No, it was not because of damage. It was actually for the pole position. I was. No, I was in voice call with some of my mates, and they told me that I'm 21st and reverse is 21st. And then I've gotten closer to 20th position, and yeah, they told me just pit. Yeah, I just pitted and got pole position.
Yeah, you're about 100 meters away from starting second on the grid. But once you got that pole position, did you ever think that you could hold on for the win?
I wasn't quite sure because I thought my pace was decent, I guess. But I didn't race in the first race, so I didn't know what the pace of the other guys were. So yeah, once I was like 2 seconds ahead, I think that's when I realized that I can maybe slow down a bit and try to go more on the safer side and not try to push too much, so that I won't crash again like I did many times in M class. So yeah, that was the plan.
And then once you got that gap, it must have been a massive relief for you. But then near the end, a couple of mistakes. You lost your 4-second lead, 4 to 4.5 second lead, and it came down to just over a second at one point. It was a bit of a tense moment for you watching the guys behind you. You could see that they were battling, of course, but were you worried in the last couple of laps that they might catch up?
To be honest, not really. The mistakes were just for the show to make it a bit more interesting, and I had it all along. No, of course. Like when I saw them in my mirror, I was also like trying to push a bit more and overdriving the car in some corners. So yeah, that was definitely stressful.
Yeah, it definitely must have been. Puts you in a very good position in the AM Championship now. Final round next week at Road America. What are your thoughts of that circuit?
It's really fun. I think it's gonna be a great race. T1 is probably gonna be a bit tricky in the big field, but really looking forward to it. And yeah, I'm happy to be back next week.
Absolutely. Well, Paul, congratulations on the win. I don't think anyone would have expected an AM driver to finish on the top step of the overall podium, but you've done it. So yeah, congratulations. Thanks for joining us for an interview. And before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I want to shout out to iBach Sim Racing Team. Great help from them always. Also to my family and my friends, the gang. Also a shout out to them.
Thank you so much, and we will see you next week for the finale.
Thank you very much. Bye, guys.
Well, it was great to hear from him, and well, it looks like the drivers are a bit shy today, Peter.
They are. There are normally loads of them as well. I wonder what's changed since last week. I wonder, Dane.
Yeah, it was a great race. I'm just trying to see if I can get a couple more drivers in.
Well, they certainly gave us a good show. That is for sure. I mean, Paul Langer, it was good to hear from Paul there, to hear his thoughts on his day out at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Road America next time up, Dane. I mean, very much known as a bit of a draft fest. I mean, I haven't driven this car for a couple of weeks now. I mean, how's it behaving in the draft on circuits like Road America at the moment?
It should probably be easier to overtake than it was here, but Road America in this car is very difficult. It's a slippery circuit. It is a very slippery circuit, and yeah, this is a slippery car. So combining the two, it's not the easiest car track combination as you might expect it to be. Especially in the middle sector with some of the corners there. Very easy to lock up the rear brakes into some of the heavier braking zones through the middle of the corner. If you hit a bump the wrong way, you'll be facing behind you very quickly. So it's not the easiest circuit. Should provide some good racing there because there are quite a few overtaking opportunities. Turn 1, of course, turn 5 or turn 4, I think it's called. I can't even remember at this point. The what should be turn 3 is actually turn 5 according to Marco Barbanera, and also into Canada corner near the end of the lap as well. And it looks like we have a driver who's decided to join us for a chat.
We do indeed. Max Wolf joins us in the commentary box right now. Max, another solid day at the office for you in terms of results, but it didn't look like it was very easy out there.
Far from it, to be honest. I'm sweating a bit too much than what should be healthy. It was really difficult, but it was good, fair, clean racing, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
tell us about the track conditions, because we can see the track temperature, and it was incredibly high. I mean, how was the grip level out there? Because there was a lot of cars spearing off all over the place. But how did you find it?
Personally, I found it quite fun. It was like really slippery. Like on the throttle, you had to be really smooth with your inputs. If you upset the car a bit, it would step out too much and you could lose it. So yeah, it was a real challenge of managing on how you put in the inputs and to keep pushing at the same time. It was a really fun balance to try and find.
Looking ahead to the final round at Road America, although Paul Langer got the win today, you're still looking very strong in the AM Class Championship. How are you feeling heading into the season finale at Road America in a week's time?
To be honest, I'm pretty nervous. Like, I know Paul has got great speed, and congratulations to him on the win. He drove an absolute really good race. But yeah, I'm pretty nervous. Gonna put in a lot of practice, and I'm just gonna do the best I can and see where that puts me in the final results.
Well, Max, we wish you the very best of luck for that. Lots of practice, I'm sure, in the next 7 days. And yeah, all the very best for the season finale at Road America.
All right, thank you very much.
So that was Max Wolf, our AM Championship leader, joining us to share his thoughts on another solid day here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. That's all we've got time for tonight here on Apex Racing TV. We hope you enjoyed this broadcast of the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup. We will see you in a week's time at Road America for the season finale, and look forward to seeing you there.